Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning. And I've got a combination out here today that's definitely something a little bit different. It is something we've already tried before, but it was a long time ago, almost a year ago now on the channel. And we didn't do things the way we do them now. So I definitely think it's worth a little bit of a revisit now that we look at the WOD and our chronograph numbers and all that. So we can get a little bit better story of what this combination is actually doing or not doing, that is. So I'm definitely curious to see what happens today, because I honestly don't really remember exactly how it performed before. I know roughly what to expect, but I'm definitely curious to see how it does when it comes to the way that we do things and look at things now. So for the shell I've got here today, I brought out some of these. The Winchester XX Diamond Grade 410 shells. These are a 3-inch, 3/4 ounce of lead, number 7.5, moving about 1100 feet per second. And these shells do say that their effective range is out to 30 yards. So that's what we'll be testing them at today. With lead 7.5s out of a 410, your range is severely limited, not just with your pattern density, but with your energy numbers as well. Lead 7.5s are just not going to carry the energy downrange quite like a little bit larger lead shot or a TSS shell. So we're going to be testing this combination at 30 yards today, just like the box says. And as for the setup we're going to be running, I've got the Mossberg 500 410 turkey out here again today, but I threw in this choke, which is the stock extra full turkey choke that came with the gun. This choke does measure out to be right at a 380 constriction, so a little bit on the tighter end for a 410 choke, which is not necessarily a bad thing when we have a shell like this. So as for our test today, everything is going to be the same as usual. However, we will be at 30 yards instead of 40 because that is the effective range of that shell. I have the turkey target set up downrange, and I have the chronograph, as you can see over my shoulder there. Now obviously we're not expecting to see anywhere even close to a TSS pattern out of this shell, so it's definitely not going to be anything that I would call impressive or amazing, but can it do the job for the turkey hunter that really wants a challenge with a 410? Because that's what this shell is going to give you. So let's get you guys set up with a view of this target, and I'll head over here and take the shot. We'll look at our chrono, and we'll look and see how it did actually down there at 30 yards and see if this combination is good out to 30, or should you keep it even closer than that. So let's head over here and shoot it and see what we can get out of this combination today. Okay, so as we can see, that shell gave us 1221 through the chronograph. The box was claiming 1100, so we are a little bit faster than their claim, which isn't necessarily a bad thing when it comes to this particular shell. So I'd say we're looking pretty decent up here as for our chronograph speed, but how did it actually perform down there at 30 yards? Let's go down and take a look and see if you would have gotten that turkey or not. All right, so now we're down here at our 30-yard target, and this is what we got. Now, we do have a dead bird here. There are two right through the brain there that would have absolutely gotten the job done. However, I do think we were a touch to the right on this particular shot. But what we do see here is not a bad pattern considering what this shell actually is. We've seen TSS patterns, I'm looking at you, Federal, that are worse than this by a long shot. If that shot would have been a little bit more centered up, we would have a few more hits, I would say. Now, overall, is it anything amazing or super impressive or anything like that? No, it's not. But for what this shell is, I wouldn't call that terrible at all. You could absolutely take a bird with that combination out to 30 yards and be just fine. Now, past that 30-yard mark, that pattern is going to start opening up real quick, and you're going to start losing energy real quick as well. So I definitely wouldn't push it any farther than 30 yards myself. But if you wanted to hunt with a lead 410 shell and you had this combination, it looks like you probably could get the job done out to 30 yards without much question, I would say. Now, there are a few little gaps and voids and stuff throughout the core area of this pattern, but it's nothing that a turkey is going to be able to move his head through and get past. And we do see a couple of flyers down there around the bottom, but that's not entirely unexpected for a shell like this either. And although it's not a super overall impressive, amazing 410 turkey pattern, I really don't have any complaints considering what the shell actually is. And to be quite honest with you, that might be the best performance that we've gotten out of this particular shell, off the top of my head anyway, from what I can remember. So it definitely seems like these lead 7.5s like the tighter constriction choke, which kind of does make sense considering that they are lead 7.5s anyway. But overall here, I'm definitely not displeased with this pattern, considering what the shell is, again. Okay, and here's the wad out of that shell. And as you can see, we did lose one of the petals. These wads do have two of these really large petals that kind of split down the middle and open up. I did look for this other half and just didn't find it. Now, with that being said, you can clearly see the dimples there from all the shot, but really nothing that I'm too concerned about as far as holes or tears or rips or anything like that in the wad. Overall, I'm not really too concerned about anything as far as the wad goes today. All right, y'all. Well, what do you think about that pattern right there? It's definitely nothing to write home about necessarily for a turkey pattern from a 410, but would it do the job out to 30 yards? Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's kind of what these shells are designed for. Obviously, the box says a 30-yard limit for range. That's not only for pattern density, but for energy as well. But these lead shells are pretty significantly cheaper than a TSS shell would be. And for the turkey hunter that wants a little bit more of a challenge and to limit themselves on range, that right there would absolutely do what you want it to do. Now, the next thing I'm curious about is if we had a normal quote unquote target style load that was a 7.5 shot as well, how would it compare to this load? Maybe that's something we should test and see if it's even worth spending the little bit extra on the turkey oriented 7.5s over just the target 7.5s. So let me know if that's something you want to see. But either way, I'm not displeased with the pattern we got today, considering what type of shell it is and the setup we're running it through. But as always, leave your thoughts in the comments and let me know, is that about what you expected to see, or were you a little bit surprised either which way? And if you've tested these shells or actually gotten to use these shells out in the field, what has been your experience with them? Leave all that down in the comments. But with that being said, I'm going to get back to the testing for y'all. We do have the channel Instagram as well as a mailbox where you can send things if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested. But I'm going to get back to the testing, so I'll see y'all in the next one.